Nezuko conquering the sun at the end of the Swordsmith village arc was a huge moment in Demon Slayer, as it completely reversed everything we knew about demons up till that point. But what if that moment went differently? In today's video, we'll explore what would happen if Nezuko died from the sun instead of becoming immune to it. The story begins with everything following the original timeline up until the moment where Hantengu's body starts chasing the villagers. Tanjiro must leave Nezuko to save them, and as the sun rises, Nezuko steps out into the light to force Tanjiro to be decisive and save the villagers. But in this timeline, there's no miraculous immunity. Instead, Nezuko begins to burn and disintegrate, and when Tanjiro returns after taking down Hantengu's body, he sees Nezuko crumble to ash and fade away before his eyes. In that moment, Tanjiro loses the entire reason he became a Demon Slayer in the first place. The immediate aftermath of Nezuko's death would completely break Tanjiro in ways we've never seen before. Think about it, Tanjiro's kindness toward demons stems entirely from Nezuko's existence, because he had to believe demons could retain their humanity. But additionally, having to focus on saving Nezuko is the only thing that kept Tanjiro sane after he lost his entire family. Without her, Tanjiro's empathy would vanish completely, and he would be consumed by a cold, vengeful rage in its place. Chances are, Tanjiro would actually desert the Demon Slayer Corps and go rogue for a while, hunting down demons on his own to try and fill the hole in his heart. Eventually, his friends would bring Tanjiro back, with Inosuke probably having to brawl with him until he agrees to return to the Demon Slayers. But speaking of Tanjiro's friends, I think Zenitsu would probably be just as devastated as Tanjiro, because he was already deeply attached to Nezuko. But we know that losing Jigoro got Zenitsu to seriously lock in during training, so Nezuko's death would probably have a similar effect, but much earlier in the Demon Slayer timeline. His grief transforms into an iron determination, and the cowardly Demon Slayer who used to pass out during battles becomes a focused, deadly fighter. Zenitsu would train relentlessly from the start of the Hashira training arc, and when he hears about Jigoro's death, he'd push himself even further, reaching limits that would shock even Gyomei. The death of Jigoro and Nezuko happening so close together creates a Zenitsu we've never seen before. He's not goofing around anymore, he's completely serious and laser focused on one goal, making demons pay for everything they've taken from him. Now I know you all want to see Tanjiro and Zenitsu run in and absolutely wreck the Infinity Castle, but one of the most significant consequences of Nezuko's death would be the timeline itself. In canon, Muzan immediately mobilizes after learning that Nezuko conquered the sun because he desperately wants to capture her and take that immunity for himself. But in this timeline, Nezuko is just another demon who died in the sun, meaning Muzan has no reason to accelerate his plans. The Demon King would still be searching for the blue spider lily, and working to overcome his weakness to sunlight, meaning that he won't assign Nakime to the task of tracking down all the Demon Slayers just yet. This delay would actually benefit the Demon Slayers in some ways, as the Hashira training arc would go on for longer, while Tamayo and Shinobu would have more time to perfect the anti-Muzan drug. This is actually another key issue in our story, because we know that studying Nezuko's blood was a critical step in developing the human transformation drug. But if Nezuko's blood was never really anything special, what effect does it have on the poison that Tamayo crafts to use against the Demon King? Even if she doesn't have a secret weapon in Nezuko's blood, I'm sure Tamayo and Shinobu will be able to work around it, given that Tanjiro has already gotten them samples from even upper moons. Meanwhile, Tanjiro would throw himself into the training with a ferocity that concerns everyone around him, and this is important because he might actually push himself so far that he attains the selfless state. This would be a game changer, because now that we have a longer Hashira training arc as well, some of the other low-ranked members might also awaken their Demon Slayer marks. Now you might be wondering when Muzan's attack actually happens, and the trigger for that is actually the Hashira training itself. Nezuko not being immune to the sun doesn't change the fact that Muzan lost half his upper moons in a couple of months, and the Demon Slayers growing any stronger would be a serious threat to his plans. So even though it happens months later than in canon, Muzan definitely still attacks, but the Demon Slayers would be better trained in this timeline. The Infinity Castle arc begins much the same way, with Demon Slayers being pulled into Nakime's fortress, and some battles wouldn't really change at all. For example, Shinobu's fight against Noma still ends with her sacrifice, as she planned all along to be absorbed so her poison could kill him from the inside. Zenitsu's new mindset would make all the difference, because having perfected the 7th form of thunder breathing, he would speed blitz Kaigaku before the battle even begins. This means that Zenitsu would travel through the Infinity Castle to help out with other fights, and honestly, the only place he could be useful is in the fight against Kokushibo. Muichiro would still die, as he received a lethal injury at the start before anyone else could even get to the scene of the fight. But Genya might survive thanks to Zenitsu diverting Kokushibo's attention. And that's really all he needs to do, because it buys the Demon Slayers enough time for first Sanemi and then Gyomei to turn up, giving the Upper Moon 1 too much to handle. Meanwhile, Giyu and Tanjiro's battle against Akaza would be even more intense than in the original timeline. Tanjiro's rage would make him reckless, and Akaza would feed off that anger, pushing both Demon Slayers to their absolute limits. But Tanjiro and Giyu are both more refined fighters in this storyline, and as both of them awaken their Demon Slayer marks and access the transparent world, Akaza realizes he's been outclassed. With Genya surviving along with Giyu and Sanemi sustaining fewer injuries, the Demon Slayers move on to the final confrontation with Muzan. Tamayo's anti-Muzan drug is helpful, but it's nowhere near as effective as it was in canon, because those years of studying Nezuko's blood didn't hold the key to turning demons back into humans. This means Muzan is significantly stronger during the final battle than he was in the original story. The Demon King tears through weaker Demon Slayers on the battlefield with terrifying efficiency, and it appears that not even the extra training time is enough to bridge the gap. But the Demon Slayers don't actually need to beat Muzan by beheading him. Their only goal is to keep the Demon King out in the open until sunrise, and this is why Genya's survival becomes such a big deal. The piece of Kokushibo's hair that he ate gave Genya the ability to create flesh constructs that restrict even the strongest demons, and this becomes a major challenge for Muzan. Meanwhile, Tanjiro charges at the Demon King in a blind rage, attacking him far more viciously than in the original story, and using his sun breathing to open up the scars Yoriichi left behind. As the sun begins to rise, Muzan realizes that he can't possibly kill all the Demon Slayers and decides to escape. But with Genya holding him in place, and the Hashira attacking him from the front lines, Muzan simply can't buy enough time to get away. But here's where we reach a critical fork in the road. Does Muzan attempt to turn Tanjiro into a demon? In the original timeline, Muzan injected Tanjiro with his blood in a last-ditch effort to create a new Demon King who could survive in the sunlight, and he chose Tanjiro specifically because of his sun breathing and his connection to Nezuko, who had already conquered the sun. But in this timeline, Nezuko died from the sun, proving she never had that immunity. Would Muzan even consider Tanjiro as a viable candidate? Chances are the Demon King would still take the gamble, hoping that sun breathing might offer some kind of immunity to the sun. And this is where our theory could go both ways. If Tanjiro possesses no immunity, we get a Demon King Tanjiro who's just as vulnerable to sunlight as any other demon. Now, since Tanjiro has no poison in his system, he'd be stronger than Muzan was, but with time running out and the confusion from the transformation, he'd probably die in the sun. Multiple Hashira would be dead, the Demon Slayer core would be decimated, but at least the world would be free from demons. But let's explore the darker possibility. What if Muzan succeeds in turning Tanjiro into a demon that's fully immune to the sun? In canon, when this happens, it's Nezuko and Kanao who reach Tanjiro and bring him back to humanity, using what's left of Tamayo's human transformation drug. But without an effective drug, and all the rage in Tanjiro's heart from Nezuko's death, all the conditions are in place to create a new Demon King. Kanao would try, of course. She'd inject him with the anti-demon drug, call out to him, and remind Tanjiro of all the people he cared about and all the memories they shared. But Tanjiro's hatred and anguish over losing Nezuko would be amplified 1,000-fold by Muzan's blood, and Demon King Tanjiro would be unstoppable. The remaining Demon Slayers would be forced to fight their former comrade, but one by one they'd fall at his hands as Tanjiro goes on a rampage. The former Hashira, like Urokodaki and Tengen, would be safe in their hideout alongside Kirya and the rest of the Ubuyashiki family. But beyond that, the rest of the Demon Slayer core would be destroyed, and the world would be plunged into an age of darkness. The irony is that Tanjiro, who fought so hard to save his sister and protect humanity, would become the very thing he swore to destroy. So what did you think of this alternate timeline? Would the absence of Nezuko's sun immunity really break the entire Demon Slayer story? As always, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.